welcome. I'm Melanie McMullen. I'm the editor of IoT Solution Integrator, a channel company website focused on Internet of Things technology sponsored by Intel. Today, our topic is powering the smart stores and QSRs of the future. We've gathered 4 experts to talk about what's happening with digital transformation in retail and explain where solution integrators can play a role in building the smart stores of the future. So let's go around the room and let our speakers introduce themselves.
I'll start. My name is Jeff Sharp, a senior director here at Supermicro, responsible for our AI Edge and IoT services. Looking forward to this webinar. This is great.
I'm Richard Newman. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and a co-founder of Reliant. We're an edge computing platform provider.
Michael Freeman, networking practice lead at Blue Star. My responsibilities include, recruiting technology partners for our ecosystem of VARs and integrators for go-to-market strategies in our given verticals.
And hi, I'm Christopher Sunby. I'm with Intel's U.S. Sales and Marketing Group, and I'm focused on our operational technology system integrators and helping them scale Intel-based IoT solutions.
Great. Thanks, everybody. So, Christopher, let's start with you. Can you provide some insights on the digital transformation that you see happening now in retail?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Melanie. We're seeing many retailers working to tailor the shopping experience to the customer, much like they would get in an online shopping experience. This can be really anything from targeted messages to a mobile device to updating products on digital shelf ends. I'm also seeing a lot of stores increase deployments of autonomous checkouts and even having fully autonomous stores.
So let's talk a little more, Chris. As retailers move into recovery mode, share some ways that you see stores using AI and also Intel Vision technology.
Primarily, one of the ways that we're seeing them use vision is to help operators reduce theft. It's pretty shocking the amount of shrinkage that retailers must absorb on an annual basis. And these technologies have really proven themselves to be a great deterrent. To take an example of using vision at a self-checkout, a customer could have like a packet of chicken on top of a packet of steaks, where traditionally they wouldn't be able to tell that there were 2 items there. But thanks to vision and depth sensing cameras, they're now able to determine that there's more than 1 layer in a customer's basket. And we're seeing AI being used in everything from predicting the movements of shoppers in an environment to helping to maintain a healthy supply chain.
Yeah, it's really changing fast. So Richard, your company, Reliant, you've been deeply involved in edge computing. So you have the million-dollar question. Can you quickly explain what edge means and what are some advantages for retailers who want to move to edge computing solutions?
Sure, absolutely. So edge computing is I think the best way to think about it is a new paradigm for delivering compute and running applications at what we call the edge, which is really the place that's close to the users and consumers, of data and IoT systems and machines. So if you think about traditional computing, it's been dominated by client server for a long time. A lot of it's monolithic, a lot of it's single purpose. What's happened with cloud computing is that a lot of that workload has moved up into the cloud. So, a lot of enterprises have taken their data centers and moved the bulk of what they do to the cloud. And there's much more interest in infrastructure and software as a service out of cloud-based providers. But you still have, fundamental issues with respect to running applications where they need to run, close to users and consumers, because not everything can be run entirely in the cloud. For example, if you've got a mission critical workload that's running in the cloud and you lose cloud connectivity, the users may not be able to have access to that information. So this is particularly true, obviously, in retail and hospitality, where you've got customers who are walking into physical stores and physical restaurants. They're interacting with technology there. And if the experience they have is entirely cloud-based and either the cloud's not available or the latency is too high, or if the applications that are being run are very data intensive, very content rich, it can't necessarily run well from the cloud. Additionally, security and compliance can also come into play. So there's a real balance to be had where you're doing what you want to do in the cloud, but you're running what you need to at the edge. And this is an evolution, just like cloud computing was a significant paradigm shift and evolution in the way computing was run overall. So we're seeing workloads, and Chris mentioned a couple of things like vision applications, walk in, walk out technology. There's a lot of compute that goes into that. And those things run best at the edge, combined with aspects of it running in the cloud. So it's really about cloud and edge running together.
Jeff, let's move to you and let's talk a little bit about the customer experience. Talk about how retailers are improving the customer experience, both with edge computing and AI and some of the new technology like digital signage and kiosk. How has the customer experience changed?
Well, everyone on this panel, we're consumers, right? From an AI perspective, I think what we'll see is a phased approach, especially with digital signages, kiosks, how we interact with taking orders and the services. So we'll see this hybrid phase of working both with AI-based technologies and also human interaction. So if you kind of split retail up into maybe a four-walled retail store that I'm going to buy clothing versus let's say a fast food restaurant or a quick delivery restaurant, I want to get in and out as quickly as I can in potentially the fast food restaurant, but I want to maybe take my time and look at certain clothes, certain elements within the retail space. So what we're seeing is more AI-based interaction at that front, at that very beginning stages of purchasing, using things like signage, digital interactive displays, and in which the retailer and that fast food company can spend all of their energies on the quality of the service, the quality of the food, the quality of the product that I'm going to bring back, and use AI as kind of that first order taking and also the point of sales leaving the store as well. Also, as consumers too, we kind of want to reduce our time in the stores. However, the stores want us to be there longer so we can buy more. So again, I think it's a transitional period in which all of that order taking, all that very initial interaction is done by signage, kiosks, those type of things. And then once we receive the information or the products, then it brings together a really good quality of service for both the retailer and the consumer like ourselves.
Great, thank you. Michael, let's talk a little bit about some examples of how your company, Blue Star, works with each of the companies here. I know this kind of technology is pretty complex, so it's interesting to see how all of you work together to bring this to reality.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie. I think, when I look at Blue Star, we've had a foundational go-to-market strategy of trying to build solutions for the marketplace and not just sell point products. So relationships are very strategic for us in our go-to-market strategy and how we serve our customer base. I think, when we looked out at the marketplace and realized IoT was going to be certainly a game changer, a major inflection point for the marketplace, we understood that meant that there was going to be a lot of data processed at the edge. So we needed to focus on being able to, compute all that data at the edge and also build an ecosystem of partnerships where there were software players involved in that, and we could go to market with a solution instead of just going to market with a compute box or, some point product that didn't give a retailer everything they needed. So looking at it through that vantage point, we've had several opportunities in quick serve restaurants and retail with Supermicro. Our recent relationship with Reliant just builds upon that strategy of compute at the edge with their middleware and their software built for these types of verticals. So Intel comes into play there because they have a very similar philosophy on building go-to-market, ready solutions. And we align very well there. In fact, there was already a solution built with Supermicro and Reliant from Intel that we could go to market with out of the box. So that's how we kind of tie all the different piece parts together strategically and try to build a go-to-market strategy based upon that.
Yeah, thanks. It sort of explains that a little better. It is a little complicated. So Christopher, let's talk a little bit about the retail ecosystem as you see it and the partner support that comes from Intel for companies like all the ones represented here.
Certainly. So within our Internet of Things group, we have a team covering what we call RBHE, which is retail, banking, hospitality, and entertainment. And this team is comprised of experts that we've hired from the industry who bring years of knowledge, and they can advise our customers about what is happening in the industry. Also backing these people up are a large technical teams of people that are working on hardware engineering support, developing different software platforms, basically helping take them to market. And additionally, we get to work with our ecosystem partners, like much of the companies represented here, who are really helping change the game with their innovation. And I think of Reliance Platform as a true game changer, as well as what Supermicro is doing in the world of edge compute and putting more edge power, putting more compute power out at the edge. And then of course we have great partners like Blue Star that can help put that all together for the end customer.
Right, thanks, Christopher. So Richard, let's talk a little bit about what's happened with COVID-19. So have you seen, has the role of IoT technology changed as we've moved through the pandemic? And also, can you give some examples of retailers that you've seen that have deployed IoT as part of their digital transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. So, COVID-19 really accelerated digital transformation to a large extent within both retail and hospitality. The examples are pretty straightforward. You saw a real movement to contactless, obviously. You saw a real movement to engagement with delivery services. You saw a real movement to buy online, pick up at store, anything that sort of changed the fundamental retail or fundamental hospitality experience. So some of our customers, for example, like Taco Bell, they, saw order volume significantly increase through both delivery service, through drive-through, and a shift to, buy, online through TacoBell.com, the Taco Bell app, to pick up in store. And for them, this really meant that they had to shift the way their kitchens and their overall restaurant systems operated. So they had already been working on an initiative to come up with a new, edge-centric, IoT-based microservices architecture. And what COVID-19 did effectively, it caused them to really slam on the gas to bring that effort forward. So in a typical Taco Bell location, or a typical QSR in general, you've got things like kitchen display systems. And for the majority of operators out there, including what Taco Bell used to have, those are analog-based systems. Once Taco Bell moved to microservices, they replaced those with intelligent IoT-based devices. Were able to use microservices to come up with a much more dynamic kitchen environment that was capable of a lot, greater order velocity, a lot greater flexibility, allowing them to reconfigure their kitchens based on time of day, based on order volumes, much better integration with the multitude of delivery services, much better cloud integration. That's just one example. You can look at other retailers that moved to very quickly implement things like contactless payment, moving away from more analog payment infrastructure to one that supports, multiple forms of contactless and alternative payments. And again, having those applications delivered instead of as sort of monolithic, client server based systems embedded within these point of sale systems as microservices running on, on edge style devices, or using edge platforms like what we provide.
Yeah, that's a big challenge for them, I'm sure. So Michael, let's talk about some of the challenges that you see for retailers right now, and talk about a little bit of the digital migration that Richard was talking about and how difficult that has been, or maybe how easy it's been.
Yeah, I think Richard, touched on a number of different points, but obviously COVID has been a huge challenge for retail, as the advancements in online shopping. So you really need a dual strategy, I think, to support the online business and the traditional brick and mortar business that many companies have had for a number of years. Payment technologies continue to adapt. Who thought you could buy a car with Bitcoin? 2 years ago, I wouldn't have guessed that, but it's reality now. And with the oncoming wave of more IoT devices coming online, your refrigerator can tell you when it's out of milk, but now your refrigerator can tell the store when you're out of milk, and the store can have the milk delivered to you in 30 minutes. So, these are some of the changes we're seeing with IoT becoming more prevalent, edge compute becoming more prevalent, and the paradigm changes between, how people order food or clothing or whatever they're seeking to buy online and pick up.
Yeah, I was going to ask Jeff, so do you feel like with all of these smart solutions coming to fruition, are they intimidated by using new AI solutions, or do you see that they're ready to move?
That's a great question. And I think with Michael and Richard and everyone talking, COVID was kind of the entry point on digital transformation. So if you were to ask that question 3-4 years ago, the answer is absolutely. The AI solutions was kind of a black hole space where, dollar signs and complicated computer vision, all of these different things may have hindered some of the decision making on transforming, a retail or a fast food organization to more AI-based approaches. And what we've seen is ecosystem, and it takes a village to be successful, I think, is number one. Having everyone that you see on this call has a key important role on making that intimidation be thrown away. It's not intimidating anymore, and it's not as difficult to expand that new technology. And with that said, the ISVs, the software applications that are running at the edge inside the stores are easier to use now. A lot of the new ISVs coming in for security, surveillance, for analytics, for kiosk order taking systems, even voice recognition and implementation of voice recognition menu systems are becoming so much easier to implement. And also, with Reliant and Blue Star, having a management system that's in the store that you don't need an IT army to be able to support. Those things are critical as I'm adding more and more applications within that four-walled store system of manageability, of adding applications, having a hardware-based platform that is using AI as well. It's sophisticated enough to know that it's self-healing, self-managing. I can add applications remotely at ease. And then it's really around that customer interaction, making sure that those customers are enjoying the experience. So that transition from old days to news days definitely has gotten much better, and that intimidation cycle is being removed.
Thank you. Richard, you talked about Taco Bell moving, and so how difficult is it for retailers to migrate from those legacy systems to next generation IoT and edge? I mean, they can't always just rip and replace and start over. There's a lot of Taco Bells out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an incremental process. And that's the beauty, I think, of what edge computing can bring to the table. An operator can put an edge computing platform, at their physical prem. And they can use it to both deliver new, sort of very edge-centric applications that might be, again, microservices based, might support, a machine learning, application set, might support some orchestration functions around IoT. But it could also, effectively do virtualization and support the opportunity to take existing applications, which might be monolithic and single purpose, and run them on the same platform. And we're seeing a lot of that amongst our customers. They're gaining a lot of operational efficiency by taking these legacy systems and running them as virtuals. And this is, again, very, 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 consistent with what's happened with the cloud. Not all new cloud applications are brand spanking new Docker-based microservices, high velocity web scale systems. Some of them are very old applications that were simply moved out of a traditional data center up to a cloud running potentially even on dedicated hardware instances, but more often as part of a cloud-based workload. But it's running a VM. It's running as a VM, so it might be Linux, it might be Windows. It doesn't really matter. But the point is it's no longer running on a dedicated physical system in a data center or in a closet in a corporate office somewhere. Instead, it's now cloud-based, which means it's much more elastic and much more easy to manage, back up, to support, to return to service if something fails on it. So similarly, in the store, in the restaurant, there's back of house point of sale systems, there's aspects of payment infrastructure. Maybe there's a DVR-based system that's used for loss prevention and the like. All those are potential targets to run virtually on an edge platform, coexisting with newer microservices-based applications, providing this incremental, iterative way to eventually move to what might be really, all this fancy, shiny new store of the future or restaurant of the future space.
Richard, do you see, other than, say some of the big retailers, do you see some of the small and medium retailers starting to dip their toe in the water and try some of these technologies?
Yes, and I think that's really where you start getting into the partner ecosystem-based approach, and it requires both VARs and integrators who really know the space to work with smaller organizations that don't necessarily, that have the IT organizations of a Taco Bell or McDonald's, a Walmart, a Target, a Gap, or whoever else have you. And there are benefits for those guys. I mean, the smaller operators can also see the same, cost benefit, the same improved total cost of ownership, the same types of, better operational, metrics, better elasticity of their store or their restaurant environments. But to make that happen, I think it's unrealistic for them to take that journey by themselves. They require strong partners like Blue Star, like Supermicro, like Intel.
Michael, what do you see as some of the most in-demand digital technologies? Let's talk a little bit about the store of the future.
Well, we've talked about a number of them. I think, as data moves to the edge, you want to be able to make use of that data in an actionable way. So creating a lot of data is good, but not unless you know how to use it or manipulate it to, create higher degree of customer satisfaction or customer stickiness or customer profiling or behavior. So I think, we're seeing a demand for technologies that meet the need for the changing payment processing system we touched on, whether it's touchless, whether it's kiosk. We're seeing an interest in AI technologies. So can that person at the window be replaced by a voice AI, which can recognize when I order a cheeseburger, fries, and a Coke, and then I say I want pickles and ketchup on that, I don't end up with an order with pickles and ketchup on my Coke. The AI is smart enough to go back and know through machine learning that I'm getting ketchup and pickles on my hamburger. So you're going to see some, technologies like that. We've seen interest in that as people start to adopt those. I think, in the not too distant future, you may see robots in McDonald's flipping hamburgers or taking fries out after 1 minute and 32 seconds. So these are some of the technologies that people are expressing an interest in from a futuristic standpoint, but from the reality of where we are today, it's all around, learning more about the customer, being able to support online orders, being able to use different payment mechanisms that are there, and to Richard's point, being able to support, legacy applications and some of the newer applications that are coming on board.
Great, thank you. Jeff, what do you see as the store of the future? I know this crew here is like the smartest guys in retail, so we all need predictions on what we can expect.
To me, the store of the future is a few things. One is, we all carry these iPhones, the Android tablets. We all carry an application, and to me, I think it's the interaction between myself and the store that I'm going into for more personalized services. Enabling me as a loyal customer of a store or a fast food. I feel entitled that I should get discounts. I should have some coupons that are available. It's very personalized services to that person walking into that store, whether it is a fast food or a restaurant chain or even a retailer. I also think that, getting in and out of the store as quickly as I possibly can for me is great. However, the retailer wants me in the store a little bit longer so I can spend more money. I can have a better experience, especially with shopping and looking at cool technologies of trying on a new shirt, but not really trying it on, using a augmented reality environment, using more voice recognition services, the Alexas and the interactive services where I don't have to physically touch things. And then if I'm buying food, having the nutritional information, all of the things that I'm putting into my body, having that awareness on my app or having that in the cloud for analytics and storage to see how many calories I inputted or carbohydrates and all the different cool things that can be gathered during my interaction within that store. So this high-tech redneck, man, I would love to be, very, very shiny, gleaming AI-based objects when I walk into a store and really enjoy that customer experience with loyalty programs and personalization. I wouldn't say, let me add one note, we've probably all seen that old movie with Tom Cruise, Minority Report, when you walk up to a bus station and it recognizes, hey, I'm Jeff Sharp and he likes ABCD. It's more like, how do I, if I'm a loyalty customer, how can I gain those benefits within that store? So that personalization effect is not super personal, but it's personal enough to gain me a good quality of experience.
Yeah, that's exciting. I like all the focus on the customer experience. I think, we're all looking forward to that. Like you mentioned, we're all consumers. So Christopher, what's Intel's vision of their store of the future?
I have to second with a lot of the gentlemen here said. They gave some great examples as far as what what they're seeing, and I would agree. Intel is seeing a lot of those same examples. To add on to that, what we're seeing is some really unique experience around trying to make the customer feel like they're shopping online. One of the things that we experienced during COVID was an excess and an increase in online shopping. So if you're on an online shopping portal, generally it'll show you what your last, I'm estimating here, 10 purchases were, and then it uses an algorithm to predict what you should buy next based on your preferences. So what a lot of retailers are trying to do is recreate that experience for the shopper in-house, meaning when you walk in, it'll show you based on your previous purchases what's on sale today, and then also suggest other products for you. More specifically, we're seeing technology that will take something like a mannequin, and let's just say you're a Seattle Seahawks sports fan. When you walk by the mannequin, it will project a Seahawks jersey onto that mannequin, knowing that you're walking by, knowing that you're a Seattle sports fan, and knowing that will probably get you, to buy that jersey more so than seeing a competitive jersey. Along with that, the retailer that we work with is actually taking, if you take a pair of sneakers and you put them into your cart, it'll pull Instagram feeds from anyone that has bought those sneakers and show what they have styled them with, which is really cool if you're into putting a whole look together. You can see what other people are wearing with those shoes that you may buy, and also, which could help you to lead you to buy more stuff to go along with those shoes. Plus, it helps connect you with the outside world. In the areas of fast food, just to kind of add on to Richard's point, we're seeing a lot of quick serve restaurants, optimize their back of the house operations using edge computing, which gives them more flexibility in ordering, and it actually makes them more efficient. Plus, you can take any of that digital transformation data and help that optimize your supply chain. So I know that waste is a big deal in the U.S. as far as food waste. So using AI, a lot of these restaurant chains are helping to optimize their supply chain to make sure that they are getting just the amount of food that they need and not having to throw away as much.
Great. I mean, that's a lot of exciting things ahead. Does anyone have any last final words of wisdom or anything they want to share?
I'll reiterate. I mean, this is a lot of it is about cloud and edge working together to provide, sort of a full, rich experience that's, either, provides benefits to the customer that they haven't seen before, efficiencies and cost savings to the operator that they haven't realized before. And we're at a transformational moment. The projections regarding the size of the edge computing market overall, continue to increase as I think the industry analysts and everyone else get their arms around just how big this is going to be. And from our standpoint, when you look out at the landscape of the retail, and hospitality technology market today, over the next, whether it's 5 to 10 years, there's going to be, I think, pretty close to 100% turnover in technology, moving away from this older way of doing things. It's been around a long time, probably 20 plus years, at least in terms of the architectures that are in place now, onto newer cloud and edge working together. And when people talk about, sort of like, oh, we have a cloud-based point of sale system. Sure, part of it's cloud-based, but they've got a fair amount that has to run locally and runs in the edge. And once that becomes clear, you start to think about how these things interact with each other, how they need to be managed, maintained, supported, what the life cycle needs to look like. And you start to see that there's, plenty of additive benefits to having an edge strategy and figuring out what you want to do with edge and moving towards it, rather than being a passive spectator in the market.
Great. Thanks, Richard. Well, thanks, everyone. I really appreciated all of the insights. I feel like I learned a lot, and we've got a lot of exciting things ahead. And I hope Michael, the restaurant, remembers he likes pickles on his hamburger next time he goes through drive-through. So thanks, everyone. You can learn more about IoT solutions on our website at www.iotintegrator.com. Thanks for listening, and stay connected.